Today, I want to talk about something that has been on my mind for about 4 weeks now. 4 weeks now, it has been on my mind very consistently and very heavily. And that thing is the word sacrifice. Okay, the word sacrifice. And this has been a good thing and a bad thing, a good word and a bad word. Lots of positive and negative emotions for me around this word over the past 4 weeks. And that's very common. Most of the time, all the emotions around sacrifice are bad, right? No one really views sacrifice as a good thing. And so my personal journey, where I am in my life right now, I want to share this with you ladies, where I am in my health journey, my weight loss journey, my marriage, my business, every aspect in my life right now is kind of pulling me towards this word sacrifice. It's really crazy, and it's a crazy experience I'm going through, and I'm still in it. And I like sharing when I'm still in things with you ladies, because it's a cool perspective, because most people only share after they make it through something, right? So you hear all the rainbows and butterflies and you don't hear that in the trenches stuff. So I want to bring you some in the trenches stuff today. Is that cool? We're going to talk about the trenches. So I'm dealing with a lot of sacrifice. This word sacrifice is heavy on my mind lately. And I say that because over the past 4 weeks, I am working more than I ever have. I'm putting in more quality of hours, more frequency, more intensity, more uncomfortable situations I've been putting myself in, more so than in my entire life. I've been working more than in my entire life. I've been putting myself in an uncomfortable state of mind more than in my entire life over the past 4 weeks alone. It's absolutely crazy. To give you an idea, my average screen time on my Mac, my desktop, was 12 hours a day, every day last week, even on weekends. And I'm not saying that to brag, like, look at me hustling. That's not why I'm telling you this. I'm actually telling you this because it's the complete opposite. And my point here is my body biologically and physiologically is screaming at me to stop. Every single physiological coping mechanism and primal protection mechanism that is inside me is telling me to slow the F down immediately. Something is driving me, then they're saying, stop, you're putting yourself in danger, whatever that danger is. And everything is screaming at me to stop, but I'm not stopping. And something, for some reason, is telling me to ignore everything my mind and my body is telling me. And for the past couple of weeks, I've been trying to figure out what that is. What is this intense battle that I'm having? Because we all have it. We all have this very intense battle. Mine just happens to be happening right now. So everything in me is telling me, slow down. If it was meant to be, it wouldn't be this hard. You don't need to do this. You've already hit your numbers, blah, 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 right? And here's the funny thing. I've been trying to figure out what this thing is that's actually making me keep going. And I'll tell you what that is in a second. But here's the funny thing. The facts of the matter are this. I have never slept so deeply and so soundly as I have in these past 4 weeks. The other fact is I've never laid my head on a pillow and been so proud of myself for a day's work as I have been over these past 4 weeks. I have never been so consistently able to work this hard in my entire life. So there is a ton of facts and evidence showing me that what I am doing is right, but everything in my being is telling me it's wrong. Crazy battle, right? Crazy battle. And so here I am wondering what's keeping me going, because that's the decision I'm making. I'm keeping on going. The topic of this call is not slow down. It's what is making me keep going. And so I was been kind of exploring these feelings I've been having in these internal battles. So I Googled the word sacrifice, because I felt like I was been sacrificing a lot lately, right? Sacrificing, hanging out with friends, seeing my family, going to the beach, like the normal stuff that, summers doesn't stick around for long, so you want to do those things. So sacrifice is what was on my mind. So I Googled it, and I was expecting a definition of like giving up, right? Giving up things, to give up something, right? And the definition I got was something that really sparked something in me. And the first definition that popped up for sacrifice was surrendering a person or possession to God or a divine figure. And I was like, oh, now I get it. So let me explain this revelation that I had. I wasn't expecting it to go in this direction. But what this showed me was sacrifice is not a bad thing. Sacrifice is divine. Sacrifice brings you closer to whatever your version of God is. And this just blew my mind. I was wondering what was the thing that was pushing me to keep going, even when I was so uncomfortable, my body was telling me to stop. And it was the fact that this is divine. And the reason it's divine is this, ladies, because of this. If you're not following me, you're about to. We have the opportunity, we have the freedom to choose to sacrifice. There are people in this world who have no choice, and they're born into a sacrifice. They're born without their freedom. They're born into slavery. They're born into hunger and starvation, right? Those people don't have the luxury of choosing what they get to sacrifice. But we do. And exercising that right and practicing that opportunity, we actually get closer to whatever that spiritual connection we are all yearning for, that deeper purpose, the why are we here? The why am I even trying to lose weight? Why am I bothering? Because we have the choice, and when you make that choice to sacrifice, to give up a temporary comfort for long-term pleasure, when you make that choice, that is how you get closer to God in simple terms. Isn't that crazy? And I'm not one to be preachy about religion, and I'm not talking about religion. If you're religious, you can take God for that religion. I'm just talking about whatever your universe center and power is. That's what this is. It's crazy. And that's what's giving me this drive to continue to work harder than I've ever worked before, to sacrifice more than I've ever sacrificed before, to be uncomfortable, truly uncomfortable, and stay uncomfortable. Because that's where the most of my growth is happening. I'm going through a growth transition that I've never gone before, and it feels crazy. It feels very cool because I can tell you I'm about to unlock something. I can feel it. Have you ever felt that before? You're about to get it. Something that you didn't know was there is about to appear. And that's the cool stuff. And I want you all to be able to experience that multiple times through multiple steps along this journey, because it's an all-encompassing journey. It's crazy. And people just don't have the luxury. We have the freedom. We have the luxury of being able to choose what we sacrifice. So you cannot look at sacrificing as a bad thing, or something that's taking something away from you, or something that will lead to resentment, or something that if you do, it takes away from your happiness. It's the exact opposite. And that is something that I thought I knew up until recently. I thought I knew it, right? We all think we've sacrificed intensely. But what I realized until recently was I've never actually truly sacrificed. I've never truly given up my comforts and been uncomfortable for a long time, just in spurts. I've given up plenty of things in my life. You know, when I owned the gym with Ryan, we gave up vacations. We gave up weekends. We gave up sleeping in. We gave up family parties. Like, we've given up a lot. And I used to think that was sacrifice. But there's this certain level of sacrifice that if you do it and you do it consistently, you are sacrificing and growing on such a spiritual level. It is unreal, the amount of uneasiness you will feel, but from that uneasiness, you have such a deep calmness counteracting it at the same time, because you know that this type of feeling, that uneasiness feeling, doesn't come without a reward. Doesn't come from something that's keeping you at the status quo. It's crazy, ladies. And I had to share this because, up until recently, I thought I'd experienced deep sacrifice. I thought I was hustling and I was working freaking, 15 hours a day at the gym and doing all this stuff. And that built my character and that got me here. And, that's helped you ladies. So it has its place, but I'm telling you, there's this next level of sacrifice that if you don't tap into, you will sell yourself short on this journey. You're missing, you're going to miss this really cool growth factor that contributes to long-term happiness on this journey, instead of resenting your journey because of all the thing it takes away, right? It takes away the fun Friday night wine nights, right? It takes away Friday night movie nights with popcorn and junk, right? We think it takes away, and it does take away sometimes. I'll be the first to admit, definitely being healthy, losing weight, getting right up here in your mind, there's things that you need to sacrifice that don't feel good. But if you sacrifice them in the short term, that sacrifice, you consciously making that choice again and again and again, it's going to build up your calluses, build up your tolerance, and it builds this spiritual, deeper connection with your purpose. Like, why are you doing this? Because you are becoming stronger because of it. You are not weak. You are not somebody who's a slave to their impulses. You are somebody who chooses when and where and what you sacrifice on your terms, because it is the freedom that we have, especially as North Americans, and the luxury that we were just, for most of us, me personally, I was born here. I just lucked out. I lucked out. Some people immigrated here, but I lucked out. And I'm so grateful, and I'm learning that with all of this freedom that we're given, there's comes so much responsibility, because so many people were not given these opportunities, right? How lucky are we that we actually get to say we have a weight problem and then actually get to fix it? Some people never think about that in their entire life because they're too busy trying to just stay alive, right? We get to actually better ourselves, not just stay alive. And that is beautiful. And you have a responsibility to take full advantage of everything that you've been given, everything that you've worked for, and everything that was just luck. You have a full responsibility to choose where your sacrifice is. Because if you don't choose your sacrifice, the sacrifice will choose you. That's how life works. If you don't sacrifice the unhealthy decisions to make the healthy decisions now, you're going to have to sacrifice living longer. You're going to have to sacrifice playing longer with your grandkids, because you're not going to last. Sacrifices will happen now or later, and they will be just as uncomfortable and just as painful no matter what the sacrifice. So because it is in your control, because you have been given that opportunity, it is in your power, and it is of your highest divine responsibility to sacrifice, and sacrifice some more. It's so cool. It sucks. It sucks. Like 4 weeks ago, I was like, I don't think this is right. I don't think this makes sense. Should I be doing this? You get, I'm missing out on my summer, right? I'm missing out on my life, and then you get other people telling you, just live a little. Just live a little, right? Who's got that before? Come on, just live a little, right? I don't want to live a little. I want to live a lot. So I'm going to sacrifice those littles now. I'll be okay for a lot in the future. And I think that's what we forget, ladies. We forget that. We view this journey as all the things we don't get to do anymore. What about by taking away those things, the type of woman that you turn into? What type of powerhouse and example that you are setting in your family? for future generations if you break whatever cycle you've been stuck in and it ends with you. That is a divine purpose if I have ever heard one. If I've ever heard one. And I'm so excited to talk to you about this, ladies, because I'm going through it with you right now on that next level. So what I want you guys to take away is that sacrifices are going to happen. Some of them you can live with, some of them you can't, some of them you'll have a hard time accepting, right? But the sacrifices that usually you start fighting the most are usually the ones that if you keep doing, you will get the most reward from. And you will feel the most proud and the most satisfied if you stick to it in the long run. And you will feel the most fulfilled. When's the last time you can say you were deeply fulfilled and you woke up with a fire and a passion to live life because you know what you're supposed to do? You know why you're here. You know what your goal is. You know what your purpose is. When's the last time you can say you've woken up with that feeling every day? Probably never, right? Definitely not every day. And that comes when you realize that sacrifice is a gift to you, that you can choose whether or not to unlock that gift, to unwrap that gift. You can look at it as a negative, or you can look at it as an opportunity to strengthen you as a woman, your resolve as a woman. How strong are you, right? Take away things in your life so you know what you can live without. So you know how strong you really are. How will you ever believe in yourself if you never give your opportunity to show how strong you are? By staying in your comfort zone. By not sacrificing. Because our body and our minds, trust me, it's telling me everything. It's making me feel very unnatural. Who I am versus who I see myself as, it's very clearly different. I want to be the person that sacrifices and doesn't care. But I'm the person that sacrifices and complains. And then I battle that. But if we can accept that sacrifice is a part of the game, that it's actually a gift. And if you feel lonely and you're like, damn it, no one else is sacrificing, what the hell? Guess what? You have the secret. It's a secret. And you're the only one going through it. You're the only one with the privilege of going through it, the choice. You're the smart one. You figured it out. It's not, oh, I'm missing out. It's, ooh, look what I'm about to go through. I'm about to level up. I'm about to find my purpose. I'm about to feel fulfilled. True sacrifice is being okay with whatever, whenever, wherever. And you have to first prove to yourself that you're capable of being okay with whatever, whenever, wherever. And that only starts with change, right? It's called a growing pain for a reason. It's painful. Painful. I would go past the point of saying uncomfortable. It's painful. You think it's like a hot stove. Like your body is telling you to stop touching it, and your body automatically pulls you away before you even think. And you have to put your hot hand back on the stove. That's hard. And it goes against everything that you want to think. That's the hard part. It goes against everything that you've naturally built yourself up to prepare yourself for. It goes against everything. But that's why this is so cool, because now we're testing the power of your mind. Are you smart enough to realize the tricks that your mind is playing on you at this deeper level? Right? Your body's trying to protect you, keep you comfortable, because that's where it knows you've been safe and you've survived up to this point. Right? But is surviving good enough? I'd rather thrive than survive. And because of where we're at and the opportunities we have and the luxuries we're given, you can thrive. It's your responsibility to thrive. How could you waste that? You're rubbing dirt in the faces of everybody who doesn't have the opportunity to thrive. Take it. And you don't have to take it fast, and you don't have to take it full on, and you don't even have to like it sometimes. But you have to know your deeper purpose, your deeper responsibility. And that's the crazy part. And when you do that, you feel so good about yourself. You feel so good about yourself because you know how strong you are. Nothing can phase you if you're constantly testing yourself. If you've already put yourself through that test, doesn't matter what life throws at you. You're like, oh, already did that myself. Oh, already been through that myself. I'm going to be fine. I can survive that. And now I can focus on thriving through that. And I think that's what we miss. We miss out on those opportunities because we stop ourselves before we get there, because our bodies and our minds are telling us we don't actually want to go there, because it's trying to keep us safe. You got to recognize the difference. You got to recognize the difference. Is my body trying to keep me safe? And do I want a deeper fulfillment, a deeper purpose? Do I want to be strong and prepared for nothing, for no matter what happens? Then you have to push past. Sometimes you got to ignore your body, because your body has been programmed, and it's programmed to keep putting you in the life that you're in. And if the life that you're in got you in a body you don't want, then we got to change the life that you're in. So sometimes that means rewiring your brain, which sometimes goes against what your brain is telling you to do. That's the crazy part. But that's the cool part, because that when you do sacrifice a little, now I'm able to tell the difference between my body telling me no, my mind yelling at me to stop, versus my divine purpose, which is to keep going because I'm onto something. Be on to something. Don't miss out on that. Don't cheat yourself out of that. Sacrifice more. Sacrifice more. Sacrifice in little increments. But the answer is to not slow down, not do less. It's not about how much you're missing out or what you don't get to do. You get to not do things. You choose to not do that. You choose to not do that. It is a choice. And that is the greatest power of all, free will. So use it to your advantage. Don't use your free will to trick you into thinking that you need to stay where you're at. Free will can be a good thing and a bad thing. Because if we're all left to our own free will, we go back to our old behavior patterns and thought patterns. Because that's where our own thoughts brought us in the first place. Sometimes we got to go against that. That is the absolutely crazy part. So I wanted to share that with you, lovely ladies. I want you to use that thought, and I want you to sit with it. And I want you to say, do I complain? Do I resent things? Do I feel like I'm missing out? Do I feel like I need a break? Do I feel like giving up? Do I feel like I deserve a reward? Right? What are all these things that our body is tricking us into thinking or wanting? And then look at the facts. If you keep sacrificing, where's it going to lead you? Where's it going to lead you? Like, think how far this will take you. Think of the mind that you will have. Think of the mind that you will build if you can be okay with sacrificing everything. How impenetrable are you as a person? And nothing can faze you. Nothing can faze you because you've already tested yourself. So just check yourself. Check yourself. Call yourself out. See if you have been pulling back because you think that's the right thing to do. And catch yourself in that. Catch yourself in that. Give yourself an opportunity to start sacrificing again, because that's the woman you want to become. And you know that, but your mind will try to convince you that you don't actually want that. So you need to remember that. You need to remind yourself of that. You need to have it somewhere where you know what your deeper purpose and your goal is beyond the short-term pleasures and impulses and wants and desires. You want to be the type of woman that sacrificing will create. She's unstoppable. She's unstoppable. But guess who's going to want to stop her? You. You're going to want to stop yourself. So catch yourself. So if this call did anything for you ladies, it's number one, I want to shift your perspective on how amazing sacrificing can be. And number two, I want you to be able to catch yourself in those moments when you start to talk yourself out of something, because our old thoughts and patterns start to seep back in. Okay, ladies? So really quickly, in the comments, I want to know your personal thoughts on this. Did this resonate with you? Is this something you're going to think about in the future? Is this something you're practicing now? Is this something you've been shying away from? Can you relate to my mental battle right now of my mind's telling me one thing, but my purpose is telling me another? Can you relate to that? It's totally crazy. And if you ever feel, if you're ever like me, and sometimes you lay awake at night and you're like wondering, why am I here? What is the purpose of life? Those questions? Well, I don't have the answer, and I don't know how to get the answer, but I do know that sacrifice will make you as close to the divine as you can humanly get. And it will spiritually elevate you more than staying comfortable. And that's what this is about. If we can't elevate everything, including your physical health and your mental health and your emotional and your spiritual health, if we can't elevate every area of those, you'll only be pulled back down to wherever the lowest one sits. And for most people, that's spiritual. Usually physical drops because spiritual is low. Usually for women, mental and emotional is okay. We're pretty in touch with our emotions. We know what's going on. But our physical and our spiritual are low. And we always battle between the two. And if you're the type of person that gained weight and lost weight, it's probably because while you lost the weight, you weren't spiritually growing. You weren't embracing your sacrifices. So there's your little tidbit, lovely ladies. I hope you sit with that. That is crazy. I'm going to sit with it some more. I am loving it. I am hating it, but I am not stopping. And I implore you ladies not to either.